Hello, my dear juniors. I am Shubhra Bhattacharya from Medical College Kolkata, and again I come back with 10 years WBHS paper revision of general pathology. Okay, so let's start with some basic differences asked in your MBA exams like necrosis, apoptosis, and all. And in this video, I want to discuss only the differences. Please follow the videos, and after the book release, please buy the book and follow the book with the video lecture. Oh, thank you. So let's start with difference 1, necrosis versus apoptosis. Like necrosis versus apoptosis, firstly I focus on the stimulus. Mainly in case of apoptosis, there are physiological and pathological both, but mainly physiological are more than pathological. But in case of necrosis, only pathological. Okay. And in case of number of cell, how many number of cell are affected in case of apoptosis and in case of necrosis? In this case, in case of apoptosis, only one cell is affected or single cell is affected, but in case of necrosis, there is a group of cell are affected. Okay. Then the mechanism of process of apoptosis. Mainly the caspase enzyme are stimulated, then a activation of specific genetic sequence, and then the apoptosis process occurs. And in case of necrosis, enzymatic digestion occurs. Enzymatic digestion like denaturation of proteins. So they are the basic differences between apoptosis and necrosis. Now I am going to some specific morphological changes in case of apoptosis and necrosis. Now coming to the morphological differences between apoptosis and necrosis, firstly cell size, then cell membrane, chromatin, inflammation, and apoptotic body. Okay, so concentrate on the cell size. In case of apoptosis, cell size is decreased or shrinkage, but in case of necrosis, cell size will increase because of swelling up. So in case of it is shrinkage, and in case of necrosis, this is swells up. Okay, now coming to the cell membrane. In case of apoptosis, the cell membrane is intact, but in case of necrosis, the cell membrane is damaged. Okay, so in case of necrosis, the cell membrane is damaged. Now coming to the chromatin. In case of chromatin, in case of apoptosis, the chromatin is condensed. Okay, but in case of necrosis, the karyolysis occurs or the chromatin is lost. Karyolysis is occur in case of necrosis, then the chromatin is lost. Coming to the inflammation. In case of apoptosis, inflammation is absent, but the apoptotic body is present in case of apoptosis. But in case of necrosis, the inflammation is present and apoptotic body is absent. So that is the difference between apoptosis and necrosis. I discussed some basic difference and the morphological differences. And one thing I forgot, that the apoptosis is the active and this is a passive process. Okay. Now coming to the second difference, the difference between dystrophic calcification and metastatic calcification. Okay. Now I want to discuss in different features like which tissue is involved and what is the pathogenesis. Nextly, serum calcium level and in case of organ dysfunction, and lastly the main example part, which is very important in case of dystrophic and metastatic calcification difference. Okay, so now coming to the first tissue, which tissue is involved in case of dystrophic calcification, like the dead and degenerative tissue is involved in case of metastatic calcification. In case of dystrophic calcification. In case of metastatic calcification, the living tissue is involved, mainly the alveoli, then bone marrow and the kidney. Okay. And coming to the pathogenesis, in case of dystrophic calcification, firstly there is an injury occurred into the tissue, then there is a necrosis, maybe fat necrosis, maybe coagulative necrosis, and necrosis occurs. Then the calcium is deposited on the necrosed tissue. Okay, calcium deposited on the necrosed tissue. But in case of metastatic calcification, somehow with any cause the hypercalcemia occurs. In case of calcium level is high, the calcium start depositing on the living tissues. So calcium high, hypercalcemia, and the calcium deposition occurs. Coming to the serum calcium level. So in case of metastatic, the calcium level is already high. So in case of metastatic calcification, the serum calcium level is high, but in case of dystrophic, the serum calcium level is not high, normal. Coming to the organ dysfunction, in case of dystrophic, necrosis occurs, so already obviously the organ dysfunction is occurs, but in case of metastatic, rarely organ dysfunction is seen. Coming to the examples, in case of dystrophic calcification, examples are rheumatoid arthritis, like atheroma, tumor, tuberculous lesions, maybe Samoma bodies. Okay. Now coming to the metastatic calcification examples, maybe hypercalcemia, multiple myeloma, osteomyelitis, maybe milk alkali syndrome, and chronic renal failure. Okay. So there is the difference between dystrophic calcification and metastatic calcification, which is very important. Now coming to the next difference, physiological giant cells and pathological giant cell, which is a very important difference between in the paper 1, and I want to discuss in case of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different features. Like firstly, nuclear features, the nucleus number, then the abnormal nuclear features, then what is the importance of the pathological giant cell or the physiological giant cells, and then the categorization and the example. Okay, so let's start with the nucleus. Firstly, in case of physiological giant cell, obviously and always the number of nucleus is more than one or multinucleated. Okay, but in case of pathological, there may be uninucleated and maybe multinucleated, both, uni and multi both. The abnormal nuclear features is absent in case of physiological giant cell but is present in case of pathological giant cell. Coming to the importance part, the physiological giant cells obviously for some specific physiological functions. So the importance of the physiological giant cells is specific physiological function, and in case of pathological giant cell mainly is used for the diagnostic purpose. Okay. Now coming to the categorization, in case of physiological giant cell there is no categorization is seen, but in case of pathological giant cell there is one type of like categorization, like fusion and fission type of giant cell are seen. Okay. Coming to the example part, maybe osteoclast or megakaryocyte are the example of the physiological giant cell, and in case of pathological you already know Langerhans giant cell and RS cell, Reed-Steinbach cell. So they are example of the pathological giant cell. Now coming to the next difference. The difference between metaplasia and neoplasia may be asked or asked anyway 4 times. Firstly, what is the type of injury? Metaplasia is reversible type of injury, but in case of neoplasia it is irreversible type of injury. First point. Secondly, the stimulus. In case of metaplasia, stimulus is needed continuously to complete the process, whole time of the process. But in case of neoplasia, the stimulus is not needed after the completion of the change. Okay. Coming to the mitotic rate. The mitotic rate in case of metaplasia mild increase, maybe mild increase, but in case of neoplasia highly increased. Now coming to the cellular morphism, polymorphism, invasion, metastasis, they three are not seen in case of metaplasia, but these three are commonly seen commonly in case of neoplasia. Cellular polymorphism, invasion and metastasis. Coming to the example part, we all know Barrett esophagus, myostasis, ossification are the example of the metaplasia, but in case of neoplasia you have to mention some benign tumors and some malignant tumors. Okay, so there is the difference between neoplasia and metaplasia. They may be asked in your course in your exam in 2021 or in case of 2020. Sorry. Now coming to the next difference between granuloma and granulation tissue. Okay. Firstly, I want to discuss into result. So granuloma is a result of chronic inflammation. And granulation tissue is mainly result of wound healing product. So it's mainly wound healing and it's mainly chronic inflammation. Okay. Coming to the appearance, in case of granuloma it's appear like a cheese like, but granulation tissue is soft, moist and bumpy. Okay. Coming to the granuloma, the central necrosed area is seen. But in case of granulation tissue, light red to pink color, dark pink color appearance is seen, but there is no area of necrosis. Coming to the content, mainly the accumulation of the macrophages surrounded by the lymphocyte is the main composition of the granuloma tissue. And in case of granuloma, and in case of granulation tissue, maybe connective tissue, fibroblast, mononucleus cells, blood vessels are seen in case of our granulation tissue. Coming to the function, mainly granuloma function is surround and the destruct antigens and foreign bodies is the main function of the granuloma. But in case of granulation tissue, they replace the dead tissue and protect the wound surface from the microbes. Okay, so there is the basic difference between granuloma and granulation tissue, which may be asked in your exams. Now coming to the next difference, the difference between the direct spread and the metastasis. We all know. Firstly, I want to discuss in specific points. Firstly, the affected site. Maybe in the same organ but different site is affected, or maybe the adjacent organ or tissue is affected in case of direct spread. But in case of metastasis, the distant organ may be affected. Coming to the vehicle or the infection spread through by which medium. In case of direct spread, there is no specific vehicle, but in case of metastasis, there may be hematogenous route, maybe lymphatic route, maybe transcelomic route, and maybe surface epithelium route. Coming to the associated tumor, in case of direct spread, may be benign and may be malignant, but in case of metastasis, only malignant is seen. The anatomical continuity is seen in case of direct spread, but the anatomical continuity is not seen in case of metastasis. Coming to the prognosis, if in case of direct spread it is malignant, then the prognosis is bad, and in case of metastasis is always poor. Okay, so there is a difference between direct spread and the metastasis. Now coming to the difference between the thrombus and the clot. It is not the thrombus and the postmortem clot. It is asked only thrombus and clot. So coming to the discussion, I want to firstly discuss the time. What I say, the thrombus is mainly antemortem and only antemortem, but in case of clot, it's maybe postmortem clot and maybe antemortem clot. Okay, before death or after death, both can possible in case of clot. Now coming to the location, in case of thrombus, when the blood is circulating, the thrombus is formed. So in case of thrombus, there is any part of the circulation, the thrombus is can seen. But in case of clot is mainly seen in the blood when the blood is stagnant part, and in case of postmortem clot, mainly seen in case of dependent part of the body. Okay. Now coming to the gross morphology. In case of thrombus, it's mainly firm, friable, well circumflexed, and pale to reddish in color, and is attached firmly to the blood vessels endothelium. Coming to the clot, it is mainly soft, gelatinous, and shapeless. In case of test tube, you can see that lower dark red portion is the RBC and the upper pale portion is the fat. It's seen in case of the clot. So this is seen or appears like a chicken fat. Chicken fat appearance is seen in case of clot. Coming to the microscopic difference. In case of thrombus, their line of Jehn is seen. Okay, what is line of Jehn? First, one layer of the RBC which is dark, and then the second layer of the pale layer is for the platelet, and then the RBC, then the platelet. These alternative layers of the circular layers of the RBC and the platelet is called a line of Jehn, but it's not seen in case of clot. So this is the main difference between thrombus and the clot. They may be asked antemortem clot, they may be asked postmortem clot, so you have to specify them. Now coming to the last difference in this video lecture, like difference between transudate and exudate. Firstly, the pathogenesis. In case of transudate, there may be increase of the hydrostatic pressure, maybe decrease of the plasma oncotic pressure, and maybe sodium retention. And in case of exudate, there is inflammation. In the cause of inflammation, the endothelial is spread out or endothelial permeability is increased and the exudate is formed. Now coming to the appearance, transudate is clear, but in case of exudate, it may be yellows, maybe starbate, and maybe bloody. Okay. Coming to the some specific features like specific gravity. In case of transudate, it is it is less than 1.015, but in case of exudate, it is more than 1.015. Okay. Coming to the protein, in case of transudate, the protein amount is less than 3 gram per dl. In case of LDL, the LDL is less than 200 international unit per liter. In case of cell amount, it's less than 100 per international unit liter, and in case of pH, it's greater than 7.3. Okay. Now coming to the exudate part, the specific gravity is more than 1.015. In case of protein, it's more than 3 gram per dl. The LDL more than 200. In case of cell amount, it's more than 100. That's it. But in case of pH, it is less than 7.3. So you have to remember the 7.3 part. In case of exudate, it's less than, the pH is less than 7.3. But in case of other parameters, the transudate is less than the amounts. Coming to the conditions like liver cirrhosis, renal failure, chronic heart failure, in case of this type of disease, the transudate is formed, and in case of inflammation, you already know, in case of inflammation, endothelial permeability is increased and exudates are formed. So now I covered the first part of the differences, and I will see you in the next video, and in case of next video I complete the rest portion of the differences in the general pathology paper 1.